this is your host, Julia Napini. I am a clinical and forensic social worker who owns a counseling practice and a consulting business. In this show, we discuss the challenges of being successful in business while maintaining your integrity and staying true to yourself. Join me while I interview other professionals and share insights from life and experience. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Compassionate Climb podcast. This is an episode that I am particularly thrilled about because it was a long time coming. This is someone who I had wanted to have on early on, and we finally got everything worked out, and here we are. So I am thrilled to have Amanda Hunter with us today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you. So you have had a wild ride, to say the least. A lot has transpired in a very short amount of time. So if you would introduce yourself to the audience, tell us about you.
Yeah, so that's always a tough question. So I'm Amanda Hunter, and I'm the CEO and founder of Everlasting Wellness. And I started Everlasting Wellness in 2019 after I had a traumatic birth and some postpartum issues. And now we are a medium to larger size group practice, depending on what you consider medium and large size. But we have about 30 some therapists and about 5 to 10-ish admin, depending on the day, where we're at there. So we have definitely grown very quickly. As a group practice, we've only been open for 2 years in June. So it's been very, very quick. Before that, it was just me solo. And then in 2021, we decided to grow as a group practice, and here we are now.
Wow, this is mind-blowing to me. So being in a similar position and experiencing pretty exponential growth myself, 30 plus in a 2-year time frame, is mind-boggling to me. So you mentioned the number of admin, the number of clinicians, and what about the leadership team?
Yeah, so our leadership team are dual roles, so they're also therapists.
Gotcha.
So we have... that's a tough one for me. I think it's like 7 leadership altogether with clinical supervisors and directors. Yeah.
So you seem so calm, cool, and collected. And I know obviously you're a mom. So how are you feeling in this very moment with this business that you've created, this team that you've built, the work that you're doing? I mean, how does it feel to be in a position where you're kind of talking about it, reflecting on it? Is it still kind of wild for you to think that you're at this position with where it all started?
100%. Yes, absolutely. People ask me all the time, like, so was this your goal? And I was like, no, I didn't have a goal. I just wanted to help people. Everlasting specializes in like pregnancy and postpartum. And now we've grown into reproductive and trauma. And I never thought in a million years that it would be the way it is or how much I've taken off. We also started an internship program, Ascend, which also is like growing at rapid speed. And now we have like 7 interns right now. So it's like, there's a lot of people. I think it's like 45 people all together right now.
It's wild.
It's a lot. 2 young kids. I have who just turned 3 years old and a 5-year-old. So that's been wild.
Yes, that's a lot. So would you say, I'm assuming that a lot of people go into private practice, as I did, to have a little bit more balance in my life and to be able to create a schedule that works for me. And this is a lot to keep track of. Do you find that that's what it's done for you, or has there been a little bit of a learning curve there?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone goes into private practice thinking that it's going to be this like magical thing of like, oh, we're going to make so much more money and we're going to have all of this time. And I think the reality is it just depends on what you're planning on doing with it.
Yeah.
If I would have stayed a solo practitioner, I might have been able to find that. But
then you hit a glass ceiling and you can only make so much unless you're seeing more people. We can only see so many people in a week.
Yes, yeah. And then even then, like I took insurances. So then I was like, wow, I really need a biller or I need like a scheduler. And then I was like, wait, I don't want to pay a biller or a scheduler. So let me hire another therapist to try to like offset that. And then you keep growing if that's what you want to do.
Right.
So I don't think I'm in the spot yet where I'm like, oh yeah, like I get to see my family so much more. Like I'm not there yet. But we are trying to put systems and procedures in the right people. I think that's a big one. And I think that's a lot what I'm learning of having the right people in the right spots so that you are able to like step back and actually enjoy
Mm.
this. But honestly, I think it really just depends on your passion. I'm a social worker,
Mm-hmm.
and I went to school for social work in grad school. One of my professors said, "You will never work a day in your life if you love what you do."
Mm-hmm.
And I truly love working. Like people think I'm crazy when I say that, but I actually do. So even if like I had all these systems in place and everyone was like, Amanda, you can just go, like go enjoy yourself, I'd probably not do it. I'd
Mm-hmm.
probably come up with another program or another business or like trying to figure it out. I do actually
Yeah.
thoroughly enjoy working. And it's kind of cool because we are very family based in our practice.
Mm-hmm.
So when we have events, because we do a lot of like social events with each
Yeah.
other, or we go out, or we like do stuff in the community, we bring our children with. So it's kind of nice because even though I'm still quote unquote working, I have my
Mm-hmm.
children with me at the same time.
Oh, that's
So
wonderful.
I think it's just finding that balance of what you want. I think is more
Mm-hmm.
important than figuring out like, oh yeah, I don't want to work as much, but I want to make more money. And then like how much money does that mean for you and what does that look like? I think like there's so many accountants now that have like that figure and that number
Yeah.
calculation for yourself. But for me, I came in not worrying about money. I came in more of like I want to help as many people as I
Mm-hmm.
can because there was no help for me. So I don't really care about the money piece or the finance piece. Obviously, it needs to keep going.
Right.
So we need to bring in revenue. But as for like personal like finances, I'm more concerned of like, are we helping enough people? Can we
Mm-hmm.
give more to it? Like that's actually why I started the Ascend program because I was like, there's a lot of private practices that have great therapists, and
Yes.
rightfully so. They charge a lot of money because they deserve it, and like
Right.
they went to school, they did their thing. But how can we try to give back with really good therapists and be able to still, it's like kind of like racking my brain there, and I was like, interns, like they can be trained by us. They can be trained by their school. They're
Right.
pretty much getting the same amount of quality. So
Mm-hmm.
you're because they're being supervised. We're watching them. We're doing process recordings. We're doing all of this stuff.
Right.
So it's like, oh, there we go. Like that's a good one, for me to be able to give back to the community. I think not or being a for profit is
Mm-hmm.
challenging, and learning that like you can't get certain grants, you can't. So it's also kind of trying to figure out like how much do you want to help and how much do you want to make a profit. There's a
Exactly.
lot of like questions that go into like running a group practice of like what you kind of
Mm-hmm.
have to ask yourself.
Yeah, so this is just reminding me about why I felt so compelled to meet with you because I can relate to so much of your kind of mission and how it started and how it grew. And it seems like for you, there were certain maybe opportunities that presented themselves, or you saw a need and you kind of went with it, and then it just blew up and took off. And so, fortunately, it sounds like you found a lot of the right people, which is great. So, are you an all female practice?
As of right now, we have one male intern.
Wow.
And I am not gonna lie, and if Logan's listening, he knows this. But yes, I had a really hard time when it came to my attention that a male applied for
Mm-hmm.
our internship program. And it wasn't because I have anything against males. That's not has nothing to do with it. But I wanted our practice to be all women where our mission statement is for women's voices to be heard. And I didn't want to take any woman's voice away by
Mm-hmm.
having a male or someone who identifies as a male present.
Okay.
And that meant a lot to me, especially because in the beginning, when it was only like just a couple of our female therapists, people gave me the feedback of, wow, it feels great knowing that there's not someone who looks like my perpetrator, who's going to
Yeah.
like open that door or,
Sure.
whatever. So that meant a lot to me. But Logan is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. I think I interrogated him more than a police officer would if he got pulled over
Mm-hmm.
for something. And he took it and was like all for it. And like he has honestly, he's been one of our like top notch interns. Like he's just doing great things and wants to learn and truly wants to help women and people, and like it just blows my mind the passion that he has. So going back to like our values and our mission,
Mm-hmm.
like he hits the bar for that.
Yeah.
So I'm really proud of him, and he's taken it like what I say 46 people I think we have. So
Mm-hmm.
out of 46, he's one.
Wow. Well, I'm so glad to hear that it worked out the way that it did and that you took a chance on him. But it sounds like you really wanted to make sure that he was going to be the right fit. So you
Yes.
talk about how much you love working and what you do. And I know that there are so many hats that we as practice owners wear. It's like balancing out the business side with the clinical side. So you're still actively involved in the hiring process, it sounds like.
Yeah, that means a lot to me actually.
Mm-hmm.
So culture it means a lot to me. I am not just going to hire any therapist.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that they're a really good fit, not just for the clients, of course, that's extremely important, but also for my team.
Right.
Because if someone comes in and I'm like, I'm not really sure, I don't know if they'll like fit in, but we'll hire them and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Then my team is like, why did you hire that person? Like they don't fit in. They don't attend anything. They don't come to any of my stuff. Like my grandfather died and they didn't even say sorry. Like, like
Wow.
so I didn't want any of that. And I don't
Okay.
want any of that. So I definitely have had some learning curves of like
Mm-hmm.
hiring and who not to hire, who to
Right.
promote, who not to promote, like kind of learning all of that. They're all learning curves.
Mm-hmm.
And they're definitely learning pains, growing pains.
Yeah.
But once that pain diminishes or like
Mm-hmm.
figure it out or provide more support, whatever that looks like, it does get so much better. And
Yeah.
I love hiring. I love doing the interviews. I love seeing people for the first time and also just seeing how they react towards me.
Yeah.
Being like the owner, like I'm honestly like this. I don't know how to change things. I don't know how to mask things about myself. So when I interview, I'm just like, hey, how are you? Like, what's going on? Tell me a little bit about yourself. And they immediately go into the professional piece. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, listen, I read your resume.
Right.
I don't want you
Tell me
to
about you as a
reiterate that.
person.
Yes. Like, will you
Mm-hmm.
fit in here? Like, are you going to be able to hang with us?
So what is
So
your hiring process like, and do you involve other team members at this point?
yes and no. So
Mm-hmm.
the first, so we obviously put that application or the oh my gosh, the job description or whatever out,
Yes.
and then see who applies. A lot of our clients, oh my gosh, all most of our therapists, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually word of mouth, so people have referred them
Oh,
to
that's
us. So they're
wonderful.
like a lot of them are friends or they've known each other from other practices or whatever the case might be.
I can see those being some of the best hires.
They really are. There are like
Mm-hmm.
OGs, they're originals. That's my core team right there.
Yes.
So yeah, I really appreciate that. So that's usually how we get people in the door. Sometimes
Okay.
we do Indeed or we do like Facebook posts. And then hiring wise, I said, or my EA, which I
Mm-hmm.
highly recommend for anybody. If you do not have an executive assistant, you need one.
Tell me
It
more. What does that entail?
Oh my gosh. So I have Montana.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even tell. Everyone needs a Montana in their life.
Well, how did you
Uh,
find her, first of all?
so I am in something called a leadership lab, and
Okay.
she's a coach, like a leadership coach, and she recommended that I get an assistant. And I was like, I don't know. Like I guess I'm controlling. I like need to like have my hands in the pot, like know what's going on. I wasn't ready to give anything up, and then
Mm-hmm.
stuff personally happened, and I was like, okay, now I do need some support. I need some help. So I put it out there and found Montana just from a Facebook post. Somebody like added her, and then I like met her. She helps run her dad's business. She knew exactly what I needed. She was like finishing my sentences already. It was like the perfect fit. I was so anxious for her to start. She's been with us, I think, for almost like 3 months now, and she has literally been godsend. Like it's been absolutely amazing. So she handles my whole schedule for me now. She schedules everything. I think you probably had to schedule with her. She just does everything for me. At this point, she's like, please don't touch your calendar. I will do it for you.
Wow.
Yeah, and like even my personal life, if there's things going on, my husband will text her and be like, hey, like I want this for Amanda, or Amanda has this, or the
Mm-hmm.
kids have this, or whatever. She schedules it all for me. She helps with payroll now. Like she's really like a jack of all trades. Like I've just been
Oh,
truly, truly blessed. But she actually does sit in on the interviews with me.
awesome.
So she sits in there with me. She does all the note taking and all
Mm-hmm.
that fun stuff. And then she'll give me her feedback. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I don't think that person would fit in very well. Oh my gosh, I love that person. Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes even in the interview, she's like Zoom chatting me or I'm Zoom chatting her. Like, what do you think? Should we just hire her
Right.
now? So I'll make that decision. Like if I'm like, I'm not really sure about this person, our clinical director will meet with her. And
Okay.
if I really like the person, then I'll just hire the person.
So you feel that there have been some people that you just know and first encounter they're hired?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so fascinating. So we have definitely shifted how we do things. So I'll do an initial screening call, and then I'll have them come to the office and meet with myself and one of the team leads. And now we do panel interviews where multiple members of the team will have the opportunity. They all come prepared with a question, and the prospective clinician will introduce themselves and, 15, 20 minutes to kind of get a vibe, because I totally relate to what you're saying. At this point, we've created such an incredible team and culture, and one person could really throw a monkey wrench in that.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I completely agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I have thought about having other people sit in, and sometimes I will. Like for instance,
Mm-hmm.
there's this person that I interviewed, and she would be going to like our trauma program. So we're actually
Mm-hmm.
starting up a trauma program.
Oh,
I know,
wow.
another thing. But the trauma supervisor would be supervising her, and I really
Okay.
want to make sure. Because I don't know much about like EMDR. I'm not an
Mm-hmm.
EMDR therapist. And I want to make sure that I'm asking the right questions and like
Yeah.
knowing. So I liked her for culture. Like I think she'd be great. I think she'd be a great
Yes.
fit. But I need the trauma supervisor now
Makes
to like
sense.
really make sure that like it's gonna go
Mm-hmm.
well.
Okay. So, what are some of the other aspects of the job that you still absolutely love on the business end? Maybe not so much the clinical side, that maybe you didn't expect that you were going to enjoy so much.
I honestly don't know if I can name just like one or two things. I really do love all of it. Like I
Wow.
love like I'm learning a lot about numbers, which I knew nothing about
Mm-hmm.
previously. I'm actually learning a lot about like saving accounts, like all of that
Mm-hmm.
fun stuff. We're in the process now of deciding if we're going to rent or buy.
Oh,
So
that's
if we're going to rent a new
exciting.
space or buying a new space.
How
So I
many
kind of went
locations are
back.
you now?
Technically, there's three offices that people go to
Mm-hmm.
before all together.
Okay.
So, and they're all kind of like spread out, but our
Mm-hmm.
Sinking Spring location is our largest. So
Okay.
I'm kind of thinking about buying in Sinking Spring, or Berks County area, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning a lot of finance stuff, which is kind
Yeah.
of scary, but I kind of like it too. I like going there, figuring it out, doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I also just love being like the boss that people can go to.
Mm-hmm.
Like that has definitely been something that like I pride myself on.
Yeah.
I've also learning that I don't have to be the bad guy as the boss anymore. That like we are large enough that like I can have people underneath me that can
Mm-hmm.
be the bad cop. I don't need to be. And it took me a little bit to get there
Yeah.
where I'm like, well, I don't want this person to hate this person either, or be mad at this person for this or whatever the case may be. So I'll
Sure.
just do it or I won't do it. Right. Like
Mm-hmm.
being resistant to that. And my coach was like, no, like you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to do this anymore. Like you
Wow.
started this position, this boss or this business for you.
Mm-hmm.
You're the boss. You don't have to do this anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pros of being a business owner, and then there's some like limitations, there
Mm-hmm.
too. But overall, I just love the people that work for me, and I think that's what kind of like fills my bucket.
Oh, I can tell. So, how do you still maintain relationships with such a large group? You mentioned you guys do some things outside of work, but obviously you're busy and busy enough to have somebody that can help you manage that schedule. Do you have regular touch points with staff, like from the time they're hired onward, let's say for more of the new people? How do you preserve those relationships?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm actually working on it right now too.
Mm,
So when in the beginning, I was in the office all the time at the Sinking Spring location. So like the OGs saw me every single
yeah.
day. I was always there constantly. Like I didn't have an admin, I did all the admin work. And
Yeah.
so I was there all the time. And then when we opened up Royersford, I wasn't there as much. And Royersford also distance-wise is further, from
Gotcha.
me. So I'm really trying to figure out how to build more of a relationship with our other offices,
Mm-hmm.
because I do want that, but it is hard to get there because there's like, there's so much stuff as a business owner that you have to
For
do.
sure.
Plus, I still see clients. So
That's going to be my next
it's,
question. So,
yeah,
what
plus
caseload do you still
I
maintain?
have a minimum caseload. I probably see like four-ish clients a
Mm-hmm.
week right now. But I really want to see more. So like I really do miss seeing clients.
Yeah.
So it is that juggle too, where it's like it's just bittersweet. Like people who are
Mm-hmm.
seeing a lot of clients, like right now I'm hearing my therapist, like I wish I didn't have to see so many clients. But then when you do it for a while, you kind of want to see them again. So there
Yeah.
was a reason why you got into this
Of
field. So it's also
course.
like remembering that. But
Mm-hmm.
definitely I did just start doing again one-on-ones with everybody.
Okay.
So we use Slack, and I sent out on Slack, like,
Mm-hmm.
can everybody please reach out to Montana and schedule a one-to-one with me for a half hour? And I asked them a couple questions, just
Mm-hmm.
like, what's one thing that you would keep? What's one thing that you would get away? What are you loving about your job? And then, like, overall happiness and like what
Mm-hmm.
we can do to kind of improve. But I also asked what their dream job is. And if I can do it, I will. So, for
Mm-hmm.
instance, one of our clinicians, like one of our first therapists, she said, I'd love to be a Disney princess. right? And I was like, how can I do this? So I was like, let's do a Disney princess night where like
Mm-hmm.
we like have like a story time for the kids. So like we're working on that because then another therapist who happens to be friendly with her
Mm-hmm.
said that she also would love to do like a couples retreat. And I was like, oh my gosh, so we can get Brenna dressed up as Belle. We can get like, Brooke doing all this couple therapy work
Mm-hmm.
and doing that. So we're trying to figure that out and like work on that. Brenna also said she loved event coordinating and she was actually
Mm-hmm.
doing like catering and stuff on the side when she first started with us. So now she's our event coordinator. So
Wow.
she's been kind of doing all of that for us now too. So I've been
Oh,
trying
that's
to incorporate
awesome.
positions. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like not only are you really trying to listen and hone in on the things that are really important to your team, but then it's also keeping it fun and that you are really capitalizing on their strengths. If you find that somebody has an interest in something and you can incorporate that in what you're all doing, then you're providing opportunities, which sounds incredible.
Yes, definitely. Definitely trying. As much as the business can stretch itself, I will do it. And of course
Mm-hmm.
there's limitations which people don't understand. And I think you don't understand until you
Yeah.
own a business where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, I want more money or I want this or I want that. And it's like it's literally not there. Like I promise I would give it to you if it was there. I'm also very transparent about our money, like our
Mm-hmm.
finances. I know some people don't agree with that and to each
Mm-hmm.
their own, everyone has their own thing. But if somebody asks me, I will tell them exactly. I will even show them our profit and
Mm-hmm.
loss. Like I do not have a problem. I don't hide money. I am not a millionaire by any
Mm-hmm.
means. Like,
Right.
so I have no problem showing like, yeah, this is how much I'm making. This is how much you guys are making. And this is what like, this is our profit and loss. And
So,
this is
how
this,
have
this is
you
that.
found that your team responds to that? Because
Some
that
people
is such a unique approach.
yeah, some people still are like, I don't understand it. Like, insurances pay us this. Why am I getting paid that? So then that's when I pull out the profit and loss and like try to explain like the overhead. I use Green Oak Accounting, which is absolutely
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal, and I have like the CFO package. So like they break down and actually show me like pie graphs or like all these little things,
Oh, that's
like
awesome. It
where
makes
I'm
it
at.
very easy to share.
Yeah, so I can show
Mm-hmm.
them. So sometimes it's not all about the numbers because they don't understand the numbers. Sometimes it's
Right.
just showing like, yeah, 18% is this and it's only supposed to be 5%. So I hear you asking for more, but I actually need to decrease. And some people are like, fine, this isn't what I want. I want to go back into corporate where I can climb the ladder and make, $200,000 a year. And then some people are like, no, totally get it. If you need to cut from me, go right ahead. I'm in this. Like, I want to keep going and like do this. And, or how can
Wow.
can I add more groups to my plate? Can I bring in more money somehow? So, again, I think that's where you can see like who your core team is and like who's
Mm-hmm.
like here just for money.
Oh, for sure. So, how would you say overall in the last 2 years of growing as big as you have, turnover and clinicians that have been there since the beginning?
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Yeah. So,
Turnover.
how many clinicians would you say approximately are still with you from the
Oh,
beginning? And
oh.
has there been a lot of turnover?
Um, yes and no. So
Mm-hmm.
from the beginning, everyone's still here actually. So everyone's coming up on like their 2 years right now. I think we've probably from the very, very beginning only lost one person, and
Wow.
that was due to an unfortunate client event. So I understand, and she actually
Sure.
changed careers
Mm-hmm.
because of it,
Okay.
which we all could go through and whatnot. So no
Sure.
shame there. But so yeah, so she left, but everyone else is still here from like that first couple of months that we
Mm-hmm.
hired. And then like I said, the Royersford office was a little tricky to keep
Okay.
in the beginning. I think, again, that hiring approach.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you hiring? Why are you hiring? So,
Yeah.
not just about their credentials, not just about the experience that they have, but
Mm-hmm.
do they want to be here?
Right.
Because there's a big difference. Because we hired great therapists, like phenomenal therapists, but some of them didn't want to be here. Some of them
Mm-hmm.
just wanted their paycheck. So that was a little bit of a turnover, but honestly, our turnover rate is not bad. Like it's really
Mm-hmm.
not. Um, I'm trying to think because I feel like if you want like a number, I think it's only like 7 to 10 or
Mm-hmm.
something, maybe. Like it's really not
Wow.
not bad at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds like you're really clear with people, especially now, as far as what sets you all apart. So it's like not only you're looking for exceptional clinical skills, but that you really want people that are going to be present and involved. And so it sounds like you would turn somebody away that was really just looking to see clients and leave.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and those are the ones that we've kind of noticed also don't really want to be here either.
Sure.
Like they end up leaving.
Mm-hmm.
People joke like, oh, drinking the Kool-Aid or, whatever. A lot of our team are huggers. So like
Mm-hmm.
we like hug each other or whatever. And like for the newbies that come in, they're like, that's kind of weird. Like this is work. And this is like, but it just is like, that's just kind of like the reality of it. And the people who are very back offish and like don't want
Mm-hmm.
to, or like won't open up about anything. Which again, there are a lot of have boundaries. This just may
Yeah.
not be the best fit.
Sure. So take me back a little bit. Did the hiring happen in waves? Was there a point when it just catapulted? Like, how did that look over the last 2 years?
Yeah, so I think in the beginning I was a little slower.
Mm-hmm.
So it all started with one of my good friends. Her mom got sick and
Oh,
she asked if she could come on. And
yeah.
I was like, I don't know. So we did. Obviously, it worked out. She's still with us. But she was a 1099 and then went to an employee.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, let's just try how this works. So like I had her and then Allie came on board, which is still with us.
Mm-hmm.
And then my husband's friend, she was
Mm-hmm.
like, asked me actually how to start a group practice. And I was like, or how to start a practice. And I was like, well,
Yeah.
do you just want to work for me and see how it is as a 1099?
Mm-hmm.
Because you pretty much have your own practice as 1099. She was like, sure. And then I was like, all right, maybe I do want to keep going with this. So then I
Yeah.
started doing consultations and they were like, no, you should switch them to W-2s.
Mm-hmm.
So then when I did that, I waited a second. And then I think I hired like three at a time
Okay.
after that. So then it was like three, waited a couple months, and then and then they were
Mm-hmm.
word of mouth. So I hired the first three, and then they referred their friends.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. So then we did that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then, yeah, I think it was just kind of like consistent. Like every
Yeah.
couple of months, we just hired two or three people. And then now we actually do try to hire in bulk. So now we
Okay.
don't just try to hire one person at a time
Yeah.
because we actually have a whole onboarding week now. So we onboard very slowly, like in
Mm-hmm.
that way. So in the beginning, which I think is funny because in the beginning, I didn't have an onboarding. They sat with me for 3 hours and then started the next day. That's all it was.
Wow.
And they're still here. And it's so funny because my clinical director and I talk about this all the time where it's like, she like when she first came on, she was like, we need an onboarding week. And I was like, okay. The first time we did it, the people left, all three of them. So I was like, maybe we don't need an onboarding. Maybe we'll just throw them to the wolves because it's been working so far.
Mm-hmm.
But now we have a very nice, smooth, and it's trial and error is
Sure.
really what it is. Yeah.
So how did you find your clinical director? And at
Oh
what
my
point
gosh.
did you bring her on?
Taryn, hands down amazing. I have been so blessed to have her. I can't even tell you, like Montana and Taryn and my leadership, my collab, like honestly, my whole team, I have just been so blessed. Like I
Mm-hmm.
had a meeting today with our intake coordinator, and when we left, I was like, she fills my bucket. Like they all do. Like they just fill it. Like if I'm having a bad day, seeing my team just makes it so much better. But
Mm-hmm.
Taryn. So I had, I think 4 or 5 therapists, and I couldn't supervise them anymore. Like I was like, this is just getting out of hand. I still had a caseload of like 20 some
Mm-hmm.
myself, plus trying to run the business and
Right.
seeing them and doing that. I was like, I can't do this. So then I was like, all right, I'll just hire a clinical supervisor and see what that looks like. Well, then when I met her, she was coming from a corporate position and
Mm-hmm.
was making a lot of money and had a lot of experience.
Yeah.
And her and I were kind of going back and forth with things. I just knew I wanted to hire. Like I can actually vividly remember we were going to like the beach right after. And I said to my husband, I don't care what I have to do. If I have to pick up like 5 more clients, I want to hire this girl. And my husband at the time was like, we don't have that type of money. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
no money in the business right now that you have to give to her in that
Right. It
capacity.
also didn't sound like you were in a position where you could really take on that much more
No,
work to
but
be
I
able
didn't
to bring
care.
her
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, I was like, I don't care. We got to
You
figure
gave
it
quite the
out.
impression.
Yeah, no, she really did. And she still does every day. Every
Wow.
day it's never like, oh, darn. Like, why did I do that? Like, she really
Mm-hmm.
has been. Now, it was a huge shift because we're
Yeah.
very different. So I'm very relaxed, laid back,
Mm-hmm.
in the sense of like policies and procedures and those
Yeah.
type of things. Where Taryn is not. She's very like,
What a
if I
beautiful blend,
seriously, it
though.
is. And like every coach, every consultant that has been successful will tell you that. Like you
Yeah.
need a yin and a yang. Like you
Mm-hmm.
need the opposite. And I'm the visionary and she's the implementer. And it just works out. I can say, Taryn, this is what I want to do. She'll
Mm-hmm.
say, hold up a second, let me ask you a million and one questions, which like my visionary brain sometimes is like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But then like her brain is like, I need this. And then it turns out to be beautiful. Like it's just like this beautiful result.
Oh, that's wonderful. And she still carries a caseload as well?
Yeah, but it's minimal. Like I
Mm-hmm.
think it's like 15. They all have like
Okay.
it's not that much. She will eventually move out to
Mm-hmm.
not having a caseload. I'm
Yeah.
hoping, and she's hoping she she would like that
She's
too.
ready.
Yeah, yeah, she is. Like she loves seeing
Mm-hmm.
her clients. She loves her clients, but she's like, I'm ready to just kind of like take on
Well, you
all
can
the
feel like you're
tasks.
being pulled in two different directions, and it's
And it's
hard to
hard.
wear both
Yeah, it's
hats.
hard to switch
Mm-hmm.
your brain too. Like when you have a client, then you have to do admin work, and then client again, and so
Exactly.
yeah.
And then the rest of the leadership team. So did that all come from that shift?
Yes, yeah. So we hired more, and
Mm-hmm.
Taryn was like, I can't supervise all of these people. So
Right.
then we promoted one person, and then it was actually at that time we promoted one person, but we were really going back and forth with two of them when they interviewed. So they were OGs and they
Mm-hmm.
interviewed, and we were like, oh wow, this person really showed up, and we were not. We were surprised. We didn't think she wanted this position.
Yeah.
And she interviewed so well for it. And now she's actually our Ascend director. So she like we just like
Wow.
boop. So yeah, and then from there we just kept hiring and we tried to keep it at 6 full-time therapists per one
Mm-hmm.
supervisor.
Okay.
So that's how we try to keep it.
Gotcha. And so are they providing weekly supervision? Does it vary depending on the clinician and what they need, their licensure level?
All of that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Yep. So it
Okay.
depends on their licensure level, but we also have groups. So we have 3 groups every week that are free that they can attend.
Mm-hmm.
We also have 5 supervisors now, so they can reach out to any supervisor at any
Great.
time, if they need to. But they do meet with their assigned supervisor at least once a month. But then we also provide licensure supervision.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes we have their clinical supervisor if they're fully licensed. Not all of our clinical supervisors are fully licensed, so some of them cannot provide supervision.
I
But
see.
we also have the Ascend program where there are 2 people that can provide the licensure
Okay.
supervision. So we do have to be careful with numbers because in Pennsylvania, we're only allowed to have 6 under us.
I
So
see.
and that kind of stinks with the hiring piece of it because if somebody's not fully licensed, even if we love them, we might not be able to take
Mm-hmm.
them on.
I see.
Hmm.
Oh, there's so much to consider, but it doesn't sound like any of it's been a barrier for you, and you've still found ways to make it work.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, great. So at this point, looking back, I mean, what you have created is incredible and it is not showing any signs of slowing down. So reflecting back, if there was someone that was early in maybe starting their private practice, potentially a group, not really sure, what would you say were the most crucial things that you did that you found really helped you to grow successfully?
Consulting. Yeah, definitely. Reaching out to other people who
Mm-hmm.
are going through the same thing that you're doing, coaching,
Mm-hmm.
consulting. Oh yeah, all of the above. You
Yeah,
need you need a support group.
right.
You need a village to help you. And at first, I was really against it. Like I remember someone reached out to me and they were like, "Hi Amanda, I see that you're," and I just thought it was like a sales pitch. Like I see you're
Sure.
trying to grow a practice, blah blah blah. And I'm like, I'm not paying you $100 like to talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually I got to the point where I'm like, I need to pay her $100 to talk to me. So I
Mm-hmm.
did, and I ended up signing up for this like subscription, and like I got to
Mm-hmm.
go into like weekly calls and whatever. Like it was like a group. And I grew out of that, and now I'm in a different subscription, and now I'm in a
Mm-hmm.
leadership lab. Like, so I'm in multiple things, and I get to
Yeah.
learn. I also really enjoy listening to how other practices are running that aren't
Mm-hmm.
counseling practices.
Okay.
So, like, I actually was able to talk to somebody from Australia and like trying to figure out like how she runs her nutrition practice,
Mm-hmm.
and that was really cool. Like being able to like hear how they do things over there, and like
Yeah.
how she supervises people and manages
Okay.
people and how she grew her marketing strategies. Because I do think we get stuck in our own ways
For
sometimes.
sure.
So, like, being able to reach out to other industries, it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. Why did I not think
Mm-hmm.
about that? So, that's
Yeah.
been really helpful too. So, I highly recommend, like, you gotta learn to walk before you run. And if
Mm-hmm.
I could go back, I honestly would have started out in like some kind of support or mentorship or something of like how
Yeah.
to start a group practice instead of just trying it by myself at first. Like I
Mm-hmm.
would have definitely hired somebody first to do it.
So that is absolutely why I became a business consultant, because I couldn't afford a
Yes.
consultant in the beginning. And it was so hard to know who to trust
Mhm.
and who was really going to kind of provide the most bang for my buck. And I think that I completely agree with you. But what would you say are the key things to look for to determine whether or not someone is going to be the right fit? I mean, it sounds like you know enough people that you go based off of recommendations and whatnot, but what else was helpful in picking the right people? Because it sounds like you're
Yeah.
really happy with what you chose.
Yes, I am. I am extremely
Mm-hmm.
happy. So I actually, the person who reached out to me was in Lancaster County, which is
Mm-hmm.
literally the county right next to me.
Yes.
So when I looked her up and saw that she had two practices and it was mental health and that she's literally in the like right next to the store to me, I was like, perfect. So everything she says, I can gobble up. She's not in a different state. She's not
Right.
in a different country. So anytime she says, my lawyer said, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
like writing it down because I
Yes.
was like, yes, because I'm getting free lawyer advice that she probably had to pay $500 for.
Exactly.
And I didn't, I don't. Also, her practice did specialize in perinatal and maternal mental health. So I got really lucky with that too. So a lot of like
Oh my
her
God. Didn't,
marketing.
didn't seem like it was competition at all. She was willing to share and help you grow.
Yes, yeah, it was great. And then in that group, I expressed that I thought that I was growing out of the group. And she was like, hey, I'm actually in this other group. Why don't you try this? Because now
Oh,
you and
wow.
I are at the same spot. Like
Mm-hmm.
she's always had like five more clinicians than I have had. Like we've always,
Mm-hmm.
I'm always like looking to see what she's doing. And then, but like, cause she's just like absolutely amazing. So yeah, she was like, I'm in this group, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna sign up for it too, and I did, and it's a scale. It's like therapists who have mental health counseling agencies, but some of them are like 200 therapists, and then some of them are like just 10 therapists.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like this huge, yeah, yeah. But like it's nice. It's nice
Mm-hmm.
to be able to
That's
talk to people that
awesome.
have 10 and that people have 250 therapists.
Mm-hmm. So even though you might have hesitated in the beginning, it sounds like you're really grateful that you did seek out some additional help. And fortunately, you got paired with the right people. And then you knew when you were getting to a point where it was time to move on and you were able to kind of gradually assimilate into the next level. And then now the leaders lab. So that's awesome. Besides that, are there any tips that you would have for someone just thinking back on some of the challenges? I mean, it isn't always easy. I always think it's like the Wizard of Oz and like you're behind the curtain and you seem so transparent and open and you want to share, but not everybody's willing to do that. And I feel like as a business owner, there's so much behind the scenes that we don't necessarily always share with people. Not everybody wants to know. Like you were even talking about how you'll share the numbers and sometimes your team has a hard time wrapping their head around that because that's just not how we've been trained. But I guess my question is with that piece, are there any tips that you would share with someone who is maybe hesitating to start a practice or a group practice because of some of that stuff?
If you have the passion, it will succeed. But you
Mm-hmm.
have to be able to have the passion for it.
Yeah.
If you are like, I'm not really sure, I'm just in it for the money, it's not going to work. And if it does work, you're going to hate your life. Like it's
Yeah.
just because it's not easy to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like like I said, I had two young kids. My kids were very young. Like Weston was couple months old when I started like really doing
Wow.
full time of the business. Blake was a year when I started the business. So
Yeah.
like they were really young. So like to be able to like sit with the mom guilt, right? Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
giving up time with them to work on this practice, but I knew I was working on this practice to be able to not only financially support them, but be able to help like maybe their wives or if they had a sister, which they're not going
Yes.
to, but like it's like it was that like that's what drove me. Or like every time I had a client and they were like, Amanda, there's nobody else out there like you. Like, and I am transparent. So people, I've
Mm-hmm.
been on TV, I've been on the, talking about like my own mental health issues
Mm-hmm.
with perinatal, issues and my birth trauma and all of that stuff. And everyone's like, I can't believe you're sharing that. And I'm like, why? Why wouldn't I not share? I have nothing to
Mm-hmm.
hide. Like you ask me anything and I will tell you.
Yeah.
But it's because it's passion driven.
Right.
Like now, if you ask me something about my personal life when I was a child, I may not tell you. But
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely different. Like this is my
Yeah.
passion and it will drive me. So that is my tip. If you have the passion, please do it. If you do not
Mm-hmm.
have the passion, maybe work for somebody that you can do what you want to do, but then they'll
Yeah,
pay you and they have the passion to keep it going in case you can't.
absolutely. Oh, it's great advice. And the passion that you have is infectious and you've maintained it, obviously, in spite of some obstacles, a lot of growth, a lot of hard work. And I can also say, as a mom of a 10-year-old, that as my daughter has gotten older, she understands more now. I can have very different conversations with her where if I have to jump on a call or if I have to take a phone call, she understands what that does for us.
Yeah.
And in the summer, Mondays and Tuesdays are our days and we get to go and do all the fun things we want to do. Or, look at the clock and when it's 10 o'clock, then that's our time. And so I
Yeah.
feel like that really helped with the mom guilt where early on she didn't really fully understand. And I knew there was purpose behind it, but now I get to convey that. And I'm confident your kids will too. Boys are different for sure, but you knew what was best, right? And so it's just setting you guys up for success and more opportunity. And
No, it's
so,
awesome. And like just
yeah.
knowing too, like back to like the children piece of it. Like my
Mm-hmm.
kids will say like my mommy's helping people. You know, so it like that makes me feel good that like
For
they can see
sure.
that and they can, they understand that piece of it,
Mm-hmm.
that it's not like I'm just going out hanging out with my friends left and right, which is fine, by the way, you can do that.
Right, of
But
course.
that's not what I'm doing. Like I'm actually
Mm-hmm.
doing something to try to like better the world.
For sure. And you get to involve them in so much of it,
Oh,
which is wonderful.
100%. They are like
Mm-hmm.
they're my poster children. They're always wearing everlasting wellness things. They're like constantly, I'm like, hey, like, to be honest with you, in the beginning, I posted my kids all the time because
Yeah.
I was literally trying to talk to moms and I just had a baby or like I have a toddler or whatever. And
Right.
people would say like it was so nice knowing that you were literally in the same boat with me. Like I
Mm-hmm.
have a 6 week old, you have a 6 week old. Like
Right.
wow, like we both have kids during COVID. Like wow, I want to talk to you. Like you're living it with me. So that was pretty cool. So again, very
Oh.
transparent. I'm an open book.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for that. It's been so nice to watch your journey. I'm definitely going to stay tuned. So you mentioned a trauma program. What's next for you? What's on the horizon?
The
It doesn't
trauma
seem like you
program.
stay still very long. You don't like complacency.
I do need to slow it down a little bit, but like I
Mm,
really do. We were going to work on this trauma program, and
yeah.
Brenna, who is the trauma supervisor right now, who's helping me with it, she is on board with, she has the same passion as I do. And
Yeah.
we really want to work with like reproductive health too. So like working with anyone who's doing like infertility
Hmm.
stuff or pregnancy loss or anything of that sort. So we're going to try to really build up that program. And then of course we'll branch out to a little bit more like whatever that looks like. We're also planning on starting like a dad support group,
Okay.
that with loss and all of that. So like we're trying to build up this trauma program. It's just going to take time. There's a lot of
Yeah.
policies and procedures to kind of figure out that piece of it and then how to bring in the
Hmm.
revenue because I'm sure you know like insurances don't like to pay for things. So we're trying to figure out like how can we make this the best where people want to pay for it out of pocket, where it's
Hmm.
not going to be like we have to accept insurances and oh, I'm sorry, it's 45 minutes, we got to go. Like,
Yes, well, you
being
have clearly showed the community that you're in, the state that you're in, the value that you all provide, and the qualifications that you have, and you're training really good therapists and providing them with good opportunities. So I wish you the best of luck with
thank
that.
you.
And I have every reason to believe it's going to happen. So thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate the great work that you're all doing, how positively you speak about your team. And I think you gave some great advice today.
Well,
So
thank
the
you.
best way for people to follow along, so you're really fun to follow on Facebook. So it's the best way for people to reach out or follow along.
Yeah, Facebook, definitely.
Hmm.
We're always on Facebook or Instagram.
Okay.
Also LinkedIn. So we kind of use like all three of them.
Hmm.
Eventually we'll get into TikTok, but right now we're just doing those three.
All right, awesome. Well, I will include all of those links in the show
Thank
notes as
you.
well as your website. And thank you again. This was fun.
Yes, thank you.
All right, take care. If you like what you're hearing, please rate and review. This will help others find us and benefit as well. The Compassionate Climb podcast represents the opinions of Julia Napini and her guests. The information provided is intended for educational purposes only and should not be taken as legal advice. If that is what you are seeking, please consult an attorney.